What if you could get the people, whose support is the very foundation of these democracies, to start questioning the system? Make the idea occur in their own minds that democracy and its institutions are failing them.
Democracy failed Georgia. This is not a speech of concession.
Stop the steal! And some top Republicans insisting this isn't over.
What you have for defense is far stronger. It's more adaptable. It's always running the latest version. It's the ability to think critically, call out falsehood, press for the facts. And above all, you must have the courage to unflinchingly pursue the truth.
What is up? You're listening to Heads Up. I'm your host, Osiris. Please, if you want to help the channel out, like, comment, share, subscribe. I am open to all ideas. Trust is everything, isn't it? Without trust, your relationship falls apart. And why would it be any different with our country? There should be nothing with respect to the relationship of our citizens to our nation that we hold more sacred than the trust people should have in their government, in their politicians, in their voting system. Seeds of doubt, they become winning arguments, whether it's true or not. Seeds of doubt always win when transparency is lacking.
Stop the steal! 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 Stop the steal!
You need to have more transparency to fight doubt. That is the only thing that overcomes doubt. Without transparency, imaginations go wild and we lose. I'll tell a story quick. In 2008, I voted for Barack Obama. Never forget it. Vivid memory. I don't know why. Just went down to the local school and got there, got my ID, was about to vote. And I was like, hold up. I'm like, what's going on? We show that you have already voted. And I'm like, no, I haven't. So let me go ahead and vote. Worked it out. They let me vote. But I had trust then. You could call it ignorance. I had trust in the system. Like, oh, it must have been a glitch. Figured it out. And maybe that's what it was. But fast forward to 2020. Oh, I'm not a person who's going to make it stink at the voting, at the polling station. But in my head, I'd be like, something shady, something really shady is going on here. And that's the difference between trust and no trust, or losing trust. The tipping point for me in 2020 came when Georgia officials lawyered up so they did not have to make the voting machines available for forensic investigation. Let me repeat that. They got lawyers so they could wipe the machines. So it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong going on there. But why wouldn't you fight the doubt by saying, hey, come on, take a look at the machines. There's nothing to hide. Instead, there's no transparency, and you let that imagination go wild. And people start talking about Hugo Chavez and all kinds of stuff. Next, we're going to be talking about aliens rigging our election because of the Galactic Federation. And all of it could have been stopped by allowing people in. Transparency. I quote from an epochtimes.com article. The filing included a declaration from Christy Royston, the election supervisor for Gwinnett County's Board of Voter Registrations and Elections. She said the restraining order preventing her county and others from wiping or resetting the voter machines have grave and serious consequences. And basically she's saying that because it's preventing them from being ready for the January 5th runoff. So I saw that and I'm thinking, wouldn't it make more sense to say, fine, come take a look at the machines, but we need to get them back by mid-December. I don't need to lawyer up. How does that sound? Because we need to get ready for the January 5th. But then the other piece is, don't you want to know if the machines are compromised or not working right, or if there's something wrong before the January 5th election? So you might want to say, hey, like if someone's going to inspect my car and say, hey, I'm going to check it out just in case, make sure nothing's wrong. Yeah, I'm good with that. So instead of the logical, for me, options there, they got defensive, literally got lawyers. Imagine you're on the couch with your significant other and they're like, baby, can I use your phone real quick? And you're like, nah, you can't. I need to wipe the data first. You'd be like, huh? Let me see that phone real quick now. Like, I need to see that phone now. Not that there's anything in it. I'm just wondering why you want to wipe it.
Babe, can I see your phone?
Yeah, one sec.
What? Hey!
There are other questions that I need answers. And it's more, the concern is more the lack of transparency than the questions even themselves. These should be very simple questions to ask. And wouldn't you all want to know the answer? So these came up in the Michigan hearing. Here are 3 questions I want answers to. Should be easy to answer too.
What I saw in Detroit was something more concerning. Every one of those tabulator machines was connected via Ethernet cable. That Ethernet cable connected to a router. That router connected to all the other computers in that network, including up to what's called the local data center, which was managing all the returns for 503 precincts here in the city of Detroit. What was further concerning was that I saw a Ethernet cable coming from the wall connected into one of these routers that was connected to the local data center, which was connected to all the tabulators and adjudicators, and that seemed to indicate an outside internet connection.
Were these voting machines connected to the internet while they were tabulating votes? If so, why?
What we've identified through sworn affidavit is that there were votes that were being dumped in counties of Kent, Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne counties that just defy logic because they were dumped at a time within about a 2.5-hour time period that there's no possible way that you could have tabulated that many votes with the scanners that were on site for those particular locations in that time frame.
Did they tabulate more votes in any window, any time frame than physically possible with the machines and resources available?
One of the things that when you're looking at data that was transmitted during the election, there was something very interesting that happened. And they were transmitting, we have evidence that from the Dominion voting system, there is a transmittal of fractional vote data. Now, you guys have done a lot of votes inside the Senate, as I did when I was serving my 2 terms. I don't recall any of those vote tallies up on the board having a decimal point. Do you guys? So that indicates right off the top that something's rotten in Denmark.
Were the voting machines ever calculating votes in fractions? If so, why? Should be real simple, right? And you should want to know the answer to these questions, right? If you don't want to know the answers to these questions, now I'm looking at you, suspect. Oh, you think this is just about me and my doubts and my faith in the process? By the way, the state of Texas is suing.
The Texas Attorney General suing Michigan and other swing states at the Supreme Court, asking the highest court in the land to nullify or disregard the state's electoral votes as cast.
Texas AG Ken Paxton filing his brief today asking the Supreme Court to hear his case. At its heart, the brief claims Michigan and the others altered election laws and flooded the state with ballots with no chain of custody.
This video is about the seeds of doubt that our system is not designed to fight with transparency. So much so, the state of Texas, the Attorney General of Texas, is taking a case to the Supreme Court. It's not about whether they're hearing it or not. These are all seeds of doubt. Even if Joe Biden takes over like normal, you're going to have millions of people who didn't vote for him and don't trust the process. So how does this fit into my assertion that we are in a civil war? A war isn't always fought with weapons. The lack of transparency in our government leads to information warfare. What if the lawsuit from Texas is just a Republican ploy to grow more seeds of doubt to make Joe Biden an illegitimate president? Who cares if the Supreme Court rules in their favor, doesn't see it, or whatever else? It could be informational warfare. Donald Trump, what if his movement that I didn't lose, I clearly won? That's informational warfare. Split again along these party lines. Donald Trump could be gearing up for a 2024 run, or for his daughter Ivanka, or Donald Trump Jr., or someone else, or to just be relevant, to start a news agency, and he's doing this to stay relevant and to keep his following. I don't know if he is or not, but it's possible. all because of the lack of transparency. Now, don't get me wrong. You could be fully transparent and there will always be conspiracies. But wouldn't you want to leave it all out there? Like, we did everything possible. Like we did everything possible we could have to be transparent. And if that's not enough, then we can go to bed at night. We can sleep well at night. What Donald Trump is doing is forcing us to clean out all the trash under our bed of this voting system that we have. And we're finding rats, roaches, and rotting food. If we cared as a country to not allow someone to poke holes, then we would tighten this whole thing up. We would clean up under the bed, not just put the food back under there and let the roaches fester and the rats fester. Instead, we have our media ignoring what's under the bed, and we're okay with it just because they're biased. You can ignore it in the media. You can block it on Twitter. You can not allow it on Facebook. That doesn't change reality. Ignoring it only makes things worse. We have officials on the local level all the way up to the federal level that can help clean this whole mess up. But why won't we clean it up? Because certain laws favor Republicans and certain laws favor Democrats. And we know that those people in power are not for people first. Therefore, their cult, their party's power. It's not about what's right for our country. It's about what's right for their power. I'm going to end on this note. What's the answer? Well, first of all, nothing's going to happen if we don't have a bipartisan movement, Democrats, Republicans, together saying, we need to clean out what's underneath the bed. Get it out. And if somebody wants to look under the bed, we're going to give them a flashlight, give them a map, and say, look wherever you want to look. If we don't get to that point, it's not about Trump. Anyone can see doubts. Hillary Clinton, the Russians, Stacey Abrams, voting rolls, Donald Trump, voting machines. What's next? I'm going to leave you again on what I think is a positive with each one of these. This is the third in a series of 5 videos on why I think we're in a current civil war. And my purpose with this is not to amp things up. My purpose is to first, we got to recognize we're in a civil war right now. And then we can address the problem, hopefully together. I'm going to leave you with Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, who put together what he thinks could help fix our voting system. Is he absolutely right? I don't know. But the point is there are answers. There are people with answers to this. Thanks a lot for listening. Take care.
Now, the conclusion that we have, because ultimately, why are we doing this? Why, an important question we'll have is why. I think what we all want is the inputs and the outputs today in our voting systems are unverifiable. That's the unfortunate truth we all have to deal with. And if we don't deal with that, we're sleeping. We're not being real citizens. But this is the God's honest reality. If we take away our rose-colored glasses, for far too long, we've been looking at Venezuela or Afghanistan or other countries. Oh my God, those have banana republics. But the reality is the United States voting systems, the inputs and the outputs to our voting systems are unverifiable. That means the evidence is ambiguous. Yep. So how do we get out of this? So now that we've identified the real problem, which is first bullet, what's a real solution? Well, here are some attributes of those solutions we believe. One is we need verifiable inputs. And what that means is we need permanent voter registration, for example. What that means is, wouldn't it be nice if we actually had some way to have a voter registration card? And this gets over the Republican-Democrat rift on this issue. The second issue is open source of software. All of these softwares are owned by a few companies. We can't even go in and see which switches are turning on. It should be open source. The third is hand-marked paper ballots. And Benny, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah. The hand-marked paper ballot is such a viable solution to this, because if at any point you want to remove the computers from the process, you can still arrive at an output. That is a true input. The voter intent is enshrined with hand and eye coordination. Yes, there will be some errors and we can use software to help us with that. But computers they work best when they are automating processes. Anything that's repeatable can be automated. And the process of repeating voting happens over and over again, and it lends itself to automation, and such automation that we can see why a pattern or an algorithm like this. And again, that the documented feature of a weighted election is such such a bad idea, and the only thing that can verify to us in a black box is the input. And if we can't know if a weighted election was conducted. It's a feature, it's not a bug.
Yeah.
So the only way we could get back to that is to for the citizens to be able to remove the computers from the situation. I think in Michigan what happened was they saw that something was wrong, they bypassed the computer and they hand counted it, and then they got to the true number.
Johnny, can you
Who would
pause
think
that real quick?
that to get to the true number you could remove the computers to do so?
All right, Johnny, real quick, I just want to say, and these are a lot of things we talked about: verifiable inputs, permanent voter registration card. We could talk about open source. How many times have we been saying that? How many times have you heard the Convo Couch talk about open source? We can't have proprietary software, hand-marked paper ballots, saved ballot images. We've had Breaky on the show. All these machines, that's why the whole accessibility kind of argument goes into play. Once you scan it through the machine, it takes a picture of it. Therefore, you automatically have a count that can be accessed. Whether it's accessed or not, that's the question, but it's there. And you have to save these things for 22 months. We found that in so many situations, they would ruin this. They would turn this feature off. Once again, the state was trying to say they can turn this feature off, but that's something that's against the law. And they say, and publish them publicly online. Automatic audits right off the bat. We don't have an audit system here. 1% audit, it's ridiculous. You got to audit the whole thing. And publish precinct level data, poll tapes on election night. And that's when I get to where it's casted, it's counted. Those poll tapes that are out in front of the precincts we saw in Florida, you have to publish those and make those public records. Some people were taking pictures of them and saying these things are not right. They're not looking good at all.
I'd say public counting too. I'd say make all of that